Welcome to Green Room Studio 1 in the Music Technology and Production Studios at Huddersfield University. This video will take you through the complete process of a modern rock music production, from rehearsals right through to final mastered product. There are 13 recording studios here. Some are intended for tracking drums, tracking guitars, tracking bass guitars or vocals, and others are set up primarily as mixing suites. However, to make the workflow a bit easier with the session I'll be working on today, I'm going to be tracking everything here in Green Room Studio 1 on this lovely Audion ASP8024 inline desk. Don't worry if you aren't familiar with all the technical discussion in this video, hopefully you can pick up the main points anyway. So just for the fellow audio geeks out there, the Audion ASP8024 has dual layer controls, splittable 4-band EQ, as well as a variable mix bus and a mix bus compressor. You'll also see that we've got lots of top spec outboard gear, including optical compressor warm audio WA2A, the modern classic EL8 distressor, FET-based warm audio WA76, and EQP WA valve EQ. Over here you'll also see 16 API mic pre's and midfield and near field Genelec monitoring. Also, it's worth highlighting that the acoustics of the control room are really accurate and neutral. In the second half of this video I'm going to Blue Rooms 1, mixing on our SSL 924 desk. I've got some musician friends of mine together today and we're going to record a song we've written called Coma Karma. Just before we move on to the tracking process, it's worth highlighting that we haven't gone into the studio to start recording it until we were properly rehearsed. We have a live music production room where Jeff has practiced to the clicks and guide guitars, getting his beats and patterns as tight as possible before we get on to the tracking process. Just a few words about drum sounds at source before we start miking up. We've reheaded the entire kit, both batter and res heads. Kept the kick tuning really low, just half a lug turn on both the front and back head. And we've got the snare batter head really quite cranked, and we've just got 2 rack toms and a floor tom for this recording. I've kept the floor tom about as low as it can go, just to keep it really nice and low and powerful. The toms are tuned in fourths, so they all reside within the same octave, and the batter heads are about 3 semitones higher than the res heads, which shortens the decay of the drum and provides a pleasing pitch bend. I've also asked Jeff to raise up his hats, ride and cymbals as high as possible without his hits becoming uncomfortable. This helps reduce the cymbal spill in the snare and tom mics, which gives a bit more control at the mix stage. Now let's look at mic selection and placement. As you can see, we've got the kick triple mic'd. We've got a Yamaha sub kick, which is used for capturing the very lowest frequencies from the kick, a Sennheiser E602 in the porthole, and a Sennheiser 901 fairly close to the batter head contact point, which is mounted on reinforced corrugated card. This mic is aimed at capturing the kick's higher frequency attack content. We've got SM57s on the snare top and bottom, 421s on the toms, and we've mic'd up the metalwork with Neumann KM184s, which are really great sounding pencil condensers. I've mic'd up some cymbals individually and the China and this Crash Ride in a pair. I've positioned the microphones so they don't see the snare, so that the cymbal prevents some of the upper frequencies from the snare reaching the overhead diaphragms directly. I've also placed a Neumann U89 directly above the snare to capture a more ambient snare sound. Last, but certainly not least, I really want to capture the interaction between the drums and the room, which is a great sounding space for tracking drums. So I've set up a Blumline pair of Coles 4038s. These are figure of 8 ribbon mics. They're really quite dark, so perfect for room mics. The drums are now all mic'd up and we've got our mic pre-levels taken care of. I'm not really going for too much printed processing here. I've got a little bit of EQ on the toms, just taking out a bit of the low mids, just to nudge them into the right direction. I've high pass filtered the metalwork tracks, as the kick captured here tends to be quite unfocused. and the only printed compression I'm using is the room mics, which I'm really slamming quite hard. Fast attack, fast release using the WA76. Without compression, they sound like this. And now you can hear the sound of the compression really emphasising the ambience of the room, whilst introducing some aggressive harmonic distortion.